Welcome to Poor Man Mods. Today we're going to be putting lowering springs on this Trans Am because it's like a monster truck and it's way too high.
In case any of y'all ever wanted to know if you need to lower your car, all you have to do is the shoe test. Simply take off your shoe, put it in between the fender and tire, and if it fits, you need some lowering springs.
Alright, so the first thing that we're going to do is take off the top nuts and bolts of the shock. Usually these are kind of easy to do, but GM likes to put things in your way. Like over there, see that master cylinder, how it's in the way? Freaking sucks. I don't know what goes through the engineers' minds at GM, but the shit they do boggles my mind. This is a huge car, and everything is in the way. This bolt, or this stud, is in the way. We're trying to get a bolt out on this side, but they couldn't put a bolt on this side. They had to put a stud over here, just to block your wrench and piss you off. They had to put the AC fucking sensor right there so you can't get a socket on, and they had to run the AC lines right there, and they also had to put the hood strut right here just to get in your way too. Everything is in the goddamn way, and it's taking forever to get this bolt out. They couldn't just make it easy. I mean, you look at this car and you would think there'd be so much room like the old Trans Ams. You could sit in the engine bay with 2 babies in your arms. You can't even get a wrench in here. Look how big it is. And there's room everywhere until you need to get to a bolt. Alright, so once you get all 4 of the bolts, or the 2 bolts and 2 fucking studs up there, you come down here and take out the bottom shock bolts. And for this, they couldn't use the same size bolt and nut. So the bottom's a 13 and the bolt is a 13 and the nut is a 15. And it tends to slip off a lot and make you really angry, and it takes up a lot of time because it keeps slipping off. Alright, so once you get both nuts off of the bottom shock bolts, the second bolt does not want to come out easily. So what you have to do, I have an extension and I'm going to hit it. It's going to go down into the shock, and then you can't use that anymore. And then wherever I put my screwdriver. So you couldn't use a screwdriver before because it would just pop off. Now once it's inside, get a screwdriver down in there and then it pops out. Alright, once you get your bottom shock bolts out, you have to take this upper ball joint off. So you have to take the cotter pin out and the cowsill nut off and then whack it really hard like what you do at nighttime. And then this cowsill nut is a 15. Yes, this is all metric hardware on this vehicle, and it's American. Because it was assembled in Canada. But it's American. Now once you get this cowsill nut off, you gotta do what you do when you watch browsers. Whack it really hard. Alright, so the shock is pretty loose, and we could take it out right now, but I'm kind of scared because when we did the other side, we put these spring compressors on first and then took it out. And then when we took it out, the shock mount like wasn't even on. So I'm afraid that if we just take it out, my luck, it'll just explode and kill me. So I'm just playing it safe and compressing it now before we take it out. Make fun of me all you want. Look at that skill. Oh man, we have to take that off.
Oh man.
Oh. Alright, so the old shock we just decided to get rid of because it wasn't worth working with that rusty bolt and stud. So we got a new shock and a new mount. So you get your new shock, put your new lowering spring on, and make sure it lines up with that. And then you're gonna go to put the top mount on, and the stud doesn't come all the way through, so you're gonna have to compress it some more to put this on. Tighten it down, then put it on the car.
side by side. Stand side by side.
Alright, once you get the top bolts and nuts in, then it's time to put the bottom shock bolts in.
You don't necessarily have to hammer. Whenever you showed up, yeah.
Okay.
Fridays at 8 and I'm off every other Friday.
Alright, so we're done the front, and now we're on the rear. All we have to do now is take the wheels off, jack up the rear end, and then take the bottom shock bolts out, and hopefully the springs come out. That's what we're supposed to do, right?
Yep, 2 bolts.
Okay, let's hope it works. Alright, so we got the rear end supported with the jack. Now all we have to do is take out this bolt for the shock. It's pretty simple, it's a 21mm. Take it off, the shock pops out, and then we lower the rear end, and hopefully the spring comes out. And once again, we're just trying to get our nut off. That's what we do here. Gotta get the nut off. And then shock comes out, and now it's time to drop the rear. Hopefully I don't hurt myself. Boom, bitch! Now the other side. Alright, so as you can see, the Eibach spring is a little bit shorter than this one. This kit's supposed to lower the car 1.5 inches all the way around. You're not going to see that initially. You have to wait for the car to settle, maybe a week or two. So when we drop this car, you may see like 1/2 inch, maybe a less of it drop. But after about a week, you'll see a big difference. He'll come out every day and be like, man, my car's getting lower every day. Happened to me, so you can obviously see a little difference, but it's going to drop it much, much more than that. Alright, so now that we got both springs in, we're going to jack up the rear end and get the shock lined up, and then this baby's done.
Coming! It's coming! Stop!
Oh, it's so wet. This is how much we love you guys. It is a monsoon right now. It just hit us without warning, and we're finishing this up for you guys. This is how much we love you. Oh, it's so wet. It's as wet as Carlisle. Good thing this is the last thing we have to do. Ugh. Done, baby. Now we lower the rear, get this thing all jack staged, and this thing is done! That was a little quicker than anticipated. Alright, so we just finished lowering this Trans Am. We got the front and the rear done. The front was a lot more difficult just because there's a lot more things you have to do, like compress the spring, a whole lot more bolts, but the rear was easy. That only took us like 30 minutes to do the whole thing, including recording time, which is phenomenal. And now this thing's lowered 1.5 inches. It looks a whole lot better. It doesn't look like a monster truck anymore. And it doesn't handle as much as like a boat anymore. So it's pretty awesome. So hope you learned something, hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.